All right, this is part two because the video cut off due to too much um data in my storage, so I had to delete some other old videos to do this part two. We was talking about the signs of the times and the revelations and the esoteric meaning the spiritual aspect of the parables, metaphors, allegories, and figurative language of the Bible. The Bible meaning the book meaning the Holy Scriptures, meaning the Kodesh text, the holy text, because there's multiple holy texts, and the exoteric version, meaning the external, the outward, under understanding, which I'm giving you the understanding of the exoteric, external on the physical plane of how it's perceived to be by simplicity and the ideology of religion, but I'm giving you it in its true, raw, uncut form. And where we left off at, we was talking about the elect. We was talking about the two witnesses, Elijah and Enoch, the two olive branches, and the nation of Israel, which are the spiritual lights, lying dead in the street for 3.5 days, talking about a period and cycle of time. I also just broke down Antichrist. I also broke down Matthew 24. You will hear of wars, rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, famines, earthquakes in diverse places. And I broke that down. That's in the part one video, because some people watch part one and they won't watch part two. So people that do watch this part, you will have to get the first part of the video, by watching the other part, to get the complete understanding. The understanding is the simplicity part, which everybody's been taught, but I'm breaking it down in its duality. And those two witnesses, two olive branches, and the nation being dead at a low state, but in this 7 year period, in this tribulation period, them being arisen and awoken, come rapturing from their low self to their higher self of awareness, which I also say is the Kundalini rising, being led by the Holy Spirit, because the law, statutes, and commandment are galactic law of do's and don'ts, um, of cause and effect. And this is how magneticism works, being based upon your inner essence, your energy field. You get what you dish and what you gravitate to by your intent, which will have to be righteous due to the law, statutes, and commandments. And this being said, the Most High said He would make a new covenant with His people, and He will write it on their hearts and consciousness. And their hearts and consciousness it means your spiritual. It's encoded into your DNA, your DNA memories. In this incarnation which you are presently in, to come to that awareness. By relearning everything, but being in this new mind state, which caused you to be elected. You know to be that star seed, that galactic seed that regenerates to this awareness because of the cycles and different experiences through past times, and they wake up. So it also gives you another understanding of this waking up period, as it talks about them lying dead in this marketplace street, and everybody, to their amazement, because all the crafty counsel that was done to them, like it says in the Psalms. I believe this is in Psalms 83, said they take crafty counsel against my people to come together under one consent to cut them off from being a nation. Just like in Psalms 82, it says, ye are all God's children of the Most High. And it also says that God judgeth in the council of the gods. Gods meaning the children of the God, which are the spiritual lights. Just like the B'nai Elohim, angelic forces are considered to be gods too. But God is Alkalun the all in one, the one in all things, of His creation. And in other videos, I did that through the 7 principles of Enochian Hermetic thought um, concept, and it breaks that down of each of the several cause and effect, gender, vibration, principle of rhythm, and so on. And it shows you how to actually use your mind and understand your spirit and drive your spaceship, and by them being woken, it talks about them in the book of Revelation, but it also, they're considered the valley of the dry bones in the book of Ezekiel. And the angel said, can these bones live? Can these bones live? And the breath of life was breathed into them, and flesh came upon the bones, and they stood. They stood just like in the beginning, the breath of life was breathed into man. And as it says, a woman was created through the man, through the rib. But people don't understand the metaphor of that. That's why a lot people say in present time that woman is the backbone to man. Talking about the rib. But atom can, it also is considered in an esoteric text, which I read in the holy tablets. It's talking about energy forms, because God is a divine frequency. Sound is a frequency. And in the beginning, God spoke things into existence. He used words, and which some people call spells. Spells is words that you put into formation and motion and put into existence. Just like I told you, your thoughts lead to actions, and thoughts come from your consciousness, your energy form, your ethereal state. If that makes sense to you guys, and you know, consciously, the law being written in the new covenant on the spiritual's light, heart, and conscience. So in the book of Revelation, those are, the ones that are lying dead in the streets for 3 days, which is talking about the two witnesses in the book of Ezekiel. They're considered the valley of the dry bones, those who are at a dead, lowly state, but lit, but risen and lit, to everybody's amazement and astonishment. They live because crafty counsel was taken against them. As I said, that Psalms 83 reads, and the rest of the world doesn't want them to know the Psalms 82, that ye are all gods and children of the Most High. But these spiritual lights, as they awaken, they realize everything that they were taught to perceive things to be was wrong or in reverse. And they started understanding the truth as a collective, vibrating on the higher consciousness as a collective whole. That's why you see so many people awakening all around the world, but they don't realize that we are all synchronized through the ley lines and the energy fields of the planet. That's why you always hear the concept, if two or three are gathered, that God is present in the mix. But we are gathered now in a collective consciousness of awareness, remembering who we are, you know, and like it says, those two witnesses will be able to control the weather, shut up the heavens, the dew, to produce rain, for crops, and cause all these things to happen. So this is where we get back to the great tribulation and natural disasters. The more that the spiritual lights awaken and synchronize in the collective consciousness through the energy fields of the ley line, you see more natural disasters happening. In the holy tablets, it calls them the seven thunders. In the Bible, it's called the seven seals. But before I go any further, because I realized I didn't fully elaborate on the topic when I was talking about atom. See how I go all over the place? You can get lost in your train of thought. But I was saying atom is also symbolic, as I learned in the holy tablets, as energy form, God being a divine frequency, speaking something into existence, and it was due to the mentalism and consciousness and thoughts that lead to actions, which we also produce here on this physical plane. And atom was considered atoms and protons and neutrons, basically energy fields of electricity, and how it was uh, uh, um, evolved into from substance to actual physical matter, which we know as a body. In the book of Genesis in Hebrew, which is the Bereshith, it's also known Genesis, meaning the generations of Isis. You get the word Isis, which comes from the actual Anunnaki text, and Anunnaki comes from the word Anunnaki, which means the fallen man. Basically from their higher plane to the lower plane. And when it says in the Bible that he breathed the life, they were made from the dust of the earth, well, dirt of the earth. In the Quran, it talks about formed of clay. In the Bible, it talks about they was formed from actual earth, dirt, and the breath of life was breathed into them. Breath of life meaning the ether. But it's telling you that breath of life is where atom and the protons came from, where you get atom from. you know it's not far-fetched and it's not hard to believe. You can believe what you want, but I'm just here to put it out there. Like I said before in other videos, real you can feel, what's fake you can't relate, and you will understand the patterns. I'm not taking anything away from anybody's religious beliefs or how they perceive things to be. I'm just giving you a different angle. Like I said before, angels are angles. They move to and fro through energy fields. Entities are energies. Now this gets back to an atom. An atom is an energy. When I say Shemesh, meaning the sun is a plasma producer. It sends its rays and beams of light here to Earth. And if you notice, if you go to a blood bank, they extract your blood, not because they just want your blood, because of the plasma that is in your blood. That's why they're trying to give you these mixed substance and artificial GMOs and all this stuff. It's all under the same lines of conditioning, to alter your DNA in this 7-year period of time, you know. And when I say the earth is considered the womb. That's why it's called a herd throughout the Bible. The earth is the womb because it is the mother. And the mother is nature, the nature of the forming and the guiding. This is the divine feminine in which I was talking about. Abba Yah is the Father who art in heaven. Hallowed be Hashem, the name. Thy kingdom come, which in the Hebrew Sephiroth is Malchet. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's what's happening now. Now, back to the revelations. I already told you what an antichrist was in the first part. I'm just reiterating things in which I talked on, and I'm giving you different perspectives of the esoteric meaning and the exoteric meaning, the external physical meaning, and the spiritual meaning, because like I said before, the Kodesh text, which is the holy scriptures out of the Bible, which is translated as the book, is written in parables, allegories, and figurative language. So something that is written in that form and explained in that form, how do you just explain it with simplicity and a simple explanation? That's what happens when pearls are cast in front of swines, and Gentiles, which aren't the spiritual lights, are made the head, and the actual spiritual ones are made the tail. That's why everybody will tell you that they're crazy and they're bad. Some people think it's all about a color of a skin, but it's all based upon spirituality. That's the real meaning of all of this thing, the spirituality and the understanding that some have that others don't have. Not that it's a bad thing, because as the prophecy was written, that the whole purpose of them was to be a light to the rest of the world and teach the rest of the world, not the other way around, for them to teach the spiritual lights. That's why everything is backwards now and then reversed, and the record has to be set straight. And I don't speak hate, I don't demonize one race and group of people, because it tells you that certain people of that other race will cleave to us. They will be connected to us, and we will be their teachers. And it's all about the balance and making the world a more balanced place with righteous intent. The true ideology and the nature of things. But if you tamper with nature and the nature of people, places, and things, and GMO them, artificial them, genetically splice them, you are the Antichrist. You're going against everything that God created in his natural creation, if that makes sense. And like I said, the Antichrist is also anything that goes against God's laws, statutes, and commandments and tell you that they are done away with. Because the laws of do's and don'ts and cause and effects would allows you to have righteous intents to be able to perform miracles through magneticism, which most people ignorantly call magic, then you're not able to perform those things. That's why people will tell you that they are bad and don't look into those things, because a certain group of people with this spiritual code in their DNA, if they tap into it, it's going to be fulfilled and done like that, and it's going to change everything. That's why throughout history their lot was to kill you and eliminate you before you reach that height of understanding to be able to achieve these things. Why do you think every prophet, patriarch, matriarch was but depending on what time and period they were in, they were assassinated, killed, demonized, or people took crafty counsel against them? If you remember King Solomon in the Psalms, he told you that his enemies watch him day and night, just like them alphabet people watch people now, that always want to demonize them, always want to send their infiltrators in there. You always want to stir up chaos, just like it tells you what the devil's job is to do: kill, steal, and destroy. They destroy things by dividing people and conquering them and creating chaos amongst the group. Because if they're divided, they can't be a collective consciousness. And if they're not a collective consciousness, the spirit of the Most High is not as strong with them. So what I'm telling you is, it's nothing new under the sun, like King Solomon said. Like he said in the Psalm, they watch me day and night. They wish to seek out and kill me and destroy me, and they don't even know why. Why? King Solomon then cast a reversal curse on them. What he did was he said, those that have ill will and intent towards me, that seek to do these things to me, I pray that they fall victim to their own devices and gadgets and traps, and recompense comes on their head. So basically, by him being in righteous intent, this is the magneticism in which I'm talking about. Those that try to do these things to him, they all met a ill fate, and he wasn't touched. You get what I'm saying? Is it making sense now? So back to Revelation. He's telling you about this wicked nation in the end. He calls it Mystery Babylon, which isn't too much of a mystery anymore. And then he broke down in the metaphors, allegories, and figurative language the characteristics of this place. He said they're called spiritual Sodom in Egypt. Egypt comes from the Greek word Egyptos. Egyptos means the house of bondage. So it's telling you this nation physically had people in bondage at some point, and mentally had them enslaved, through mental bondage, psychology, manipulation, and scandalism. This is how they thrive. That's why I said the only way to reverse the curse is to understand how the workers of iniquity work from the inside out. And it says spiritual Sodom. There's only one nation trying to make a gender god. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic. Now, those two characteristics of this nation of Mystery Babylon, which it tells you in Revelation. And then it goes on to further say that whore, basically her nations referred to as her, that sitteth upon many waters. Now, this is how I break it down. A whore that sitteth upon many waters. Who is on a global scale is in all of the world's affairs and tries to set the tone for what's possible, what's not possible, and they don't have their hand in it and their influence upon it. That's one. And two, who has a military base on everybody's land? Military is key because military is what gives the country the power to begin with, to be able to have this influence and dominion and have their hand in all of these affairs. The whore that sitteth upon many waters. We're not going to stop there. And it also says, he said, the great whore, that every nation got drunk off of her wine. Why does it say every nation got drunk off her wine? The wine is meaning her substance and got wealthy. And it says that in the book of Revelation too. Every nation got drunk off her wine, meaning her substance, and became wealthy from her. Who is the most powerful nation? What nation do you know that when foreigners come to that nation, they give them grants, allow them to start businesses, but they don't even help their own people that's already there? Think about that. Now, that's key. And it also goes on to say, basically meaning, as he's redeeming his people, bringing them from this lowly state, bringing them to the awareness of their enemy and what they're up against, basically telling you that they basically kept them at the bottom and did all these things, had them in bondage, in mental bondage, using the reverse psychology, the manipulation and scandalism, segregated them, kept them at a lowly state, while every other nation they basically gave to. It's not that they cared about helping that nation. I mean, cared about that nation's real well-being, but they knew by doing that, they can reflect their influence, meaning their intent, into the global nation's affairs through bribery. That makes sense? Now listen to this again. Like I said, Mystery Babylon. It said, the whore that sitteth upon many waters. Every nation got drunk off of her wine and substance. It said, which we know as spiritual Sodom. The people that are making the gender God, that tell you that God's laws are done away with. Laws meaning laws, statutes, and commandments, the do's and don'ts, the cause and effect. And it also tells you in the Old Testament of things of the same gender, if they go together, what the consequences was of that. And it tells you that it was death, And as the same people in these religious institutions say that the Most High never changes. He always stays the same. Y'all already changed him. So that's hypocritical. And what is the devil's job? To kill, steal, and destroy. Satan deceiveth the whole world. Satan's real name in the holy tablets is Natas, which is Satan backwards, which I rebuke him. In the almighty power of El Shaddai. El Shaddai means the Almighty, That's why these words is key. Words are very powerful, So, Mystery Babylon, spiritual Sodom, and Egypt, which is bondage, and Sodom, the gender God people that tell you the law is done away with and everything is okay and come as you are, These ain't my words. This is written in the Kodesh text, the Holy Scriptures, the Bible, known as the book, And he tells you that great whore that sitteth upon many waters, telling you the characteristics of this nation. They have a base on everybody's lands, and they have their hands in all the global affairs. Now that's all I'm gonna say. And another thing I'm gonna say, as far as this great tribulation period, telling you this great tribulation would be on the cycle. He said, "How will you know the signs of thy second coming?" Tells you will hear wars and rumors of wars. But how will you know when these things transpire? You will know by the signs of the times. In the 6th and 7th book of Moses, it tells you that an eclipse is a sign of doom and judgment, and was also known to the Israelites, which are the spiritual light, all throughout history. They knew about the new moons and cycles. That's why the Passover and everything was done on a cycle. So anybody to tell you that that's wrong, they're wrong. They have no understanding. They have understanding. They have the understanding, the low vibration, no meaning of simplicity. That's why I keep saying the elect is in full effect. I bet you ain't never heard nothing like this before. But I bet it got people really rubbing their head, Some people watching it's like, this guy is really confident, He's bold and confident. I don't like him. but they rather you be at a low and unsure state. But when you're confident, everybody seems to have a problem with you, because confidence means you're of surety. You have a very strong belief. And when you have a strong belief, you can reflect that intent because you truly, genuinely believe that. That's why the Messiah told you those that believe on these things, they will automatically be blessed and healed because it was that powerful. That's why the power of belief and faith. And faith without works is dead. I say that to say this, and back to the cycle. He said eclipse was in the 6th and 7th book of Moses, which it breaks down all the events from the part of the Red Sea, but in the Pacific part of the book, which I did a video on a long time ago, and that's also on this channel, he told you that eclipse is an omen of doom. So remember about the 7-year cycle. This is going to put the icing on the cake. In 2017, we had a solar eclipse in August of 2017. It went across the country in a diagonal. Boom. One side of the country. The next eclipse is coming the other way in 2024. Now you do the math, and it's creating an X over this Pacific country, which has the characteristics of Mystery Babylon. So 2 solar eclipses in a 7-year period. 2017 to 24 is exactly 7 years. And within that 7-year period, what are you hearing? Rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, famines due to global sanctioning, earthquakes in diverse places, weather in places it don't normally happen. What are they calling it scientifically? Global warming. Come on now. And what causes earthquake and unnatural phenomena? CMEs, coronal mass ejection, meaning solar flares from the sun, which is Shemesh, causing these things to happen because it's unlocking the plasma and the children of Shem's DNA and causing them to rapture and become aware. And the more they become aware on a collective consciousness, when 2 or 3 are gathered, the Most High is present. And when he's present with them, they are able to control the element, as it told you in the 2 witnesses of Revelation. So remember that, 2024, which will make 7 years. From 2017, when that first eclipse in August, and then the next eclipse, which creates the X over this country that has these characteristics, another eclipse, 7-year period. All these events happened within this 7-year period, and all of a sudden, these natural phenomena is happening, and you keep seeing news reports on solar flares, coronal mass ejection. And in the process of that, it told you biblically that a plague would happen, and there would be a mark of a beast. Anybody that didn't take this mark wouldn't be able to buy or sell. I clearly witnessed that with my own 2 eyes and my own essence of being alive. And people weren't able to buy or sell without proof that they had this mark. It might have been for a short period of time, but guess what? These events all align. Like I said before, the truth lies in the consistency and pattern. 7 years. All these events happened in this 7-year period. Now we are in 2023. When you add that up, 7. What does 7 mean in the Bible? Rest. And after rest, what do you get? A reset. And after that 7-year period, what are you getting? Which they call the Great Tribulation. The government calls it the Great Resignation, but galactically, it's called the Great Reset. It always happens once the fullness of something comes complete. Like it says in the book of Luke or Mark, it says, Jerusalem shall be trodden down until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So the wickedness has been fulfilled and reached the heights of heaven. So now divine intervention is taking its toll. Salah, so be it. Amana, hallelujah, Salah, Shabbat, Shalom. I'm out. Deuces.